Hello and welcome to FC Recco. My name is Hriday Ranjan. This week's recommendation is Hyderabad Blues. Written, produced and directed by Nagesh Kukunoor, starring Nagesh Kukunoor himself, Rajshri Nair, Ilahi Hibtullah and Vikram Inamdar. Now just a bit of context, the film released in 1998 and against all odds managed to grab eyeballs and in its own way kicked off the trend of independent young Telugu filmmakers quitting their jobs in the US as engineers, coming back to their native land and making films in their own language. Varun is an IT engineer who has returned from the US after 12 years. Now when he's back home, he meets his childhood friends. One of them is married with kids, the other is getting married. Meanwhile, Varun's parents are hell-bent on getting him married to a girl. However, after 12 years in the US, he feels a certain alienation. He does not feel like he recognizes the country that he belongs to, nor does he understand their culture and their ethos and their values. What is a mere custom for his family in India, for him becomes chala custom. However, what sets things in motion in the film is when he meets Ashwini, who is a feisty doctor who is neither interested in him nor is having any of his bullshit. Now, the first thing you notice about the film is a genuine indie feel to the entire film. Take for example the opening montage, or take for example even the font used in the opening credits, or the lack of frills whatsoever in the entire film, or even take the shaky camera work, which could put an amateur Mallu porn film to shame. If you look at the lines, the dialogues used by the characters, they switch randomly from Hindi to English to Telugu to even Dakkani at one point. There is a liberal spattering of swear words and the F word is dropped in quite frequently, and the film also features the now iconic line which goes Dil pe matle yaar haath mein le. But however, this indie feel goes beyond just the language and the dialogues. It also applies to the tone of the film. For example, in one scene we are shown the cultural difference between two generations of an Indian family, and in the very next scene the boys are standing together and discussing the cleavage of an auntie who grew up in their neighborhood. Now, Nagesh Kukunoor has spoken at length about how the film was produced. He quit his job in the US as a techie and made the film with his own savings. Now, remember that the film was shot across a span of 17 days in Hyderabad, and it was shot on a budget of 12 lakh rupees. Also remember that this was the 90s when large production houses and studios controlled the films that usually featured larger than life set pieces. However, it is probably the budgetary constraints that the film has no time, or rather no budgets, to feature dramatic turns of events or to feature large set pieces. Take for example the scene where the friends meet the married guy after his wedding. The cinematography used there is a very simple pan back and forth between the characters. The other trick that the makers use to give the film a very personal feel is to make the cinematography seem like it was shot on a handycam. When Varun visits his house after many years, instead of the norm of a long shot of a palatial house and the character slowly entering it, what we get instead is shaky camera work of Varun exploring all the characters and the elements of the house. In that sense, there is a sense of familiarity and yet a sense of newness when we see things through his eyes after he has returned after 12 years. Perhaps the biggest obstacle in watching the film after 2 decades is in its exposition. We get monologues where Varun is telling us that he just doesn't fit in, he's confused, and a lot has changed since he was last year. Also, Varun's opinions on marriage and customs and traditions and women seem a little too direct, too on the nose. However, if you look beyond the exposition, Hyderabad Blues as a film achieves its likability due to its characters. The characters over here are people that you would meet in your everyday life. The parents, for example, don't break into song or tears, and the hero over here does not have any epiphanic moments that he experiences through the film. In fact, the character of Ashwini, the heroine, is rather strange because there is absolutely no likability in her character, in the sense that she's rude, she is kind of proud about the job she has, she doesn't like the hero at all. In fact, all through the movie, you don't even know if she likes him. She does not forgive or forget. She calls her patients as illiterates. In fact, it is the character of Ashwini that is refreshing in its own way that keeps you engaged with the movie. The other thing that you notice about the film is its complete lack of frills. The characters establish the premise for the next scene with one line of dialogue and we immediately cut to the next scene without any hassles. At no point is the film trying to show off its knowledge or the filmmaker trying to show off his knowledge of the craft, nor are they keeping the treatment of the film arty-farty. The film also does a great job in balancing its politics. At no point does the film show one culture by dissing another culture. If you know what I mean, the film does not become a Swades or a Pardes or a Maharshi at any point of time. The relationship between the leads is also shown beautifully and it also works in keeping the budgetary constraints of the film in mind. For example, when they are shown to be hanging out together in love, it is a montage shot of less than a minute. When they first express their liking for each other, it is just shown with one character sliding their hand over the other characters. The women in the film are also saner and smarter and more grounded than the men, and because that is so, you don't need any meet cute scenes, you don't need wooing songs, and it just keeps the entire budget of the film under control. And then even before you know it, the film ends its run at 85 minutes, which is a great thing. Like a techie visiting from the US, the film does not overstay its welcome. In fact, the film feels like one of those telefilms that used to air on Doordarshan. Now remember, this film was made in 1998 before the digital revolution. To have made this film, managed to get an audience is really commendable. In fact, even though it is a small budget independent film, the film never tries to educate or enlighten the audience. In fact, for even its small budget, it gives the audience what they looked for back then in a movie. A feel-good story, two characters who seem that they could never have been in love or together. It gives you some jokes, some family drama, and a happy ending. It is impossible to speak about Hyderabad Blues without talking about its legacy. After the success of Hyderabad Blues, Nagesh Kukunoor went on to make many more movies in a number of languages, but also more importantly, it gave confidence to a lot of Telugu filmmakers, young guys who are working in the US as techies, to come back, quit their jobs and make films in their own language. If today you like the films of Shekhar Kamula or even Krish for that matter, you have to thank Hyderabad Blues and Nagesh Kukunoor for plunging into the water and testing it. Hyderabad Blues is available online for you to watch, so please watch the film and also let us know what you thought of the film. For more such interesting videos, please subscribe to Film Companion South by pressing the bell icon.